6th edition Bretonnia army book. So let's just jump right into it with The Dead Walk the Lands. Oh, and if you haven't watched the last video on this subject, which was the last Bretonnia video I uploaded, or you just forgot, we left off with Bretonnia having been substantially weakened at home due to long and drawn-out errantry wars and crusades. The dead walk the lands. The dead rising from their graves is a common theme amongst the troops of traveling players that journey around Bretonnia, reflecting the profound effect that the undead have had on the nation. A very superstitious people, the idea of the dead walking is especially horrific and abhorrent to the Bretonnians, both noble and commoner alike. Peasants will often bury their loved ones face down in the earth, with dried cow's feet in their mouths and cloves of garlic in their ears, apparently to stop them from rising from their graves. In times long past, legions of dead warriors borne upon the seas in fleets of shallow-bottomed boats raided the coastline, and rumors of these fleets still persist. In isolated hamlets across Bretonnia, there are said to be foul vampiric warrior knights, the most famous of those being the so-called Red Duke, who plagued the lands of Aquitaine. Many a questing knight has set out to rid the lands of these horrors and never returned. The cursed realm of Musalon has long been associated with the dead. Indeed, it is a very morbid realm, for death and disaster feature strongly in its history. Being built on a sinking swampland and subject to frequent flooding, the tombs of the dead in Musalon are built above the ground. So large are the sprawling, macabre graveyards that they are likened to towns in their own right. It is said that any manner of foul necromantic sorcerers lurk amidst the darkened crypts. One of the more recent major battles fought against the undead took place at La Maisontal Abbey in the Grey Mountains. An undead horde, led by the dread Lich Master Heinrich Kemmler and a dead warrior of chaos, Krell, attacked this sacred place. The Lich Master is a hated figure in Bretonnian lore, and mothers use stories of his deeds to scare their children into behaving. The battle was only won thanks to the skill and heroism of Duke Tancred of Quesnel. Hard to train myself out of that one. And his knights, even though they were also assailed by a swarm of foul, chaotic vermin. The knights returned to their lands with much honor, for their victory was truly valorous. Nevertheless, the Lich Master escaped from the battle, and Tancred spent the remainder of his life pursuing the hated necromancer. Tragically, Tancred himself fell in battle with the forces of the Lich Master at the Battle of Montfort Bridge, though he did succeed in smashing Kemmler's force. It is said that the Lich Master is biding his time to exact his revenge against Bretonnia. The Land of Despair. Musalon is a cursed realm, a crumbling city surrounded by stinking swamps and marshes, a land that is shunned by the rest of Bretonnia. It is said that in that doom-laden land, the dead walk the dark and empty streets, and all manner of unnamed horrors lurk in the depths below the castles, and that the night is filled with screams and laughter from beings no longer of this earth. Those dwelling there are the most desperate of people, for none would choose to live in this tragic land, other than the evil-hearted and the outcast. Dispossessed and dishonored knights band together here, as do hordes of the most malformed and diseased peasants. Those who would remain of the cursed bloodline of Musalon rule this land with absolute authority. These remnants of the descent of the decadent and corrupt nobility wear pitch-black armor and never raise their visors, so it is said in fireside tales. However, for a period of history, Musalon threw off its dark reputation. This was during the time of Giles Le Breton and his Grail companions, for the bravest, most skilled, and honorable companion of all was Landuin, the favored son of Musalon, and their first duke. He was the epitome of knighthood, the paragon that all knights aspired towards, and he was beloved by all. None could stand before his wrath, and Musalon gained much honor thanks to his mighty deeds. Tragically, with the death of Giles, Landuin fell into a terrible malaise from which he never recovered. The land of Musalon itself felt his pain and began to fall into ruin and despair, continuing to do so even after his death. Thus did Musalon begin to fall back towards being a realm shunned by the other Bretonnian dukedoms. It has since fallen further into darkness. Many believe that the land itself is cursed. It is certainly true that vermin seem to thrive in this fetid land, that many dwelling within its borders suffer madness, and many other unnatural things occur on an almost daily basis. Two key moments in history can be isolated that have irredeemably doomed this haunted land in the eyes of the other dukedoms. The first of these occurred during the outbreak of the terrible Red Pox in the early years of the 9th century, after the formation of Bretonnia. The Duke of Musalon, Maravech, was a proud warrior who was desperate for his realm to regain the prestige and honor that it had during the reign of Landuin. Led astray by his corrupted advisors, but with only honorable intentions, Maravech began dabbling in things far beyond his power or control. When the Red Pox struck Bretonnia in 1813 by the imperial calendar, Maravech and his knights were strangely unaffected. As foul rat creatures appeared in their thousands to kill and maim, Maravech saw that his time to shine had come. Riding south with his black-armored knights, he slew thousands of the chaotic creatures and broke the siege of Bretonnia. The route his army took mirrored that road taken by Giles' Grail companions before him, as he then pushed towards the east, crossing Carcassonne. His dreams were filled with blood, death, and horror. In his delusions, he actually believed that he was Landuin reborn, and that he was the only one who could save Bretonnia. Meeting up with the armies of Paravon and the Fey folk of Athel-Loren, a great victory was won, and the rat creatures scattered before the martial might of Maravech and his most trusted knights. In the middle of the battle, Maravech was soaked in blood, reveling in the killing. Even after his foe lay unmoving, still he continued to hack at them with his gore-soaked blade. The virtuous and honorable knights of Paravon looked on in horror. Maravech invited the dukes to his castle for a great victory feast. Many saw him as a savior, for he had saved Brionne and Quenelle. Nevertheless, the banquet horrified the chivalrous dukes. Dinner was served by shambling servants, and the dukes were shocked to see spitted and impaled criminals arrayed about the hall. Maravech could not understand their discomfort at all, having already drained many goblets of fine Bordeaux wine. He drunkenly claimed that his hospitality was being dishonored. The king was repulsed by Maravech and spoke against him and his court. In a rage, Maravech accused the king of jealousy and plotting against Musalon. The king formally challenged Maravech, though the other dukes begged to be the one allowed to punish the disgraceful knight. In the ensuing combat, Maravech fought like a demon and tore out the king's throat with his bare hands. Maravech raised his goblet and filled it with the blood of the king, which he then drank from. The other dukes hastily left Musalon to gather their armies, pursued by twisted creatures and malformed peasants. In the following months, Maravech was publicly denounced by the Fey Enchantress and the newly crowned king. Lyonesse led a massive invasion of Musalon, and many of the knights of Musalon gladly took up arms against their liege lord, having no wish to be associated with their corrupted duke, and swore fealty to Lyonesse. Faced with the might of all Bretonnia, Maravech was finally slain, though many brave warriors fell beneath his blade. The righteous anger of the Bretonnians against one they see as having tainted their own honor is truly to be feared. Later, Musalon fell ever further during the affair of the False Grail, a terrible time when Duke Maldred of Musalon perpetrated perpetrated the vilest of crimes. He conspired through treachery to become king, imprisoned the Fey Enchantress, and falsely claimed to have recovered the Grail, though this was later proved another of his subtle lies created to gain power. His actions doomed himself and finally condemned his homeland utterly, and he eventually died after a prolonged siege. From that moment forth, Musalon was to have no duke by order of the king, and so the position remains unfilled. In recent years, however, there have been stories of a new claimant, a self-appointed duke. It is said that King Lewin may soon embark upon another war to cleanse Musalon of its growing taint. The Bretonnians as a whole look forward to the day when Musalon is finally razed, burnt to the ground, and forgotten by history. The rise of a new king. The current king of Bretonnia is Lewin Leoncoeur, and in him the populace of Bretonnia can see echoes of the great warriors of the past. It is said that the blood of Giles le Breton runs in him, and his knights give thanks to the lady that they might serve under him, for his nobility and strength harkens back to those times of the Grail Companions, the highest pinnacle of Bretonnian heroism. Lewin has revived many of the old warrior traditions, including hosting great tournaments. Indeed, he will often take part in these himself, and has proven time and time again that he is one of the most skilled, fierce, and honorable knights in the land, encouraging his knights to hone their martial skills at every opportunity. Some have speculated that Bretonnia is currently as powerful as it ever was, perhaps even more so. The king is wise, and he sees that enemies abound. It is the belief of those closest to him that he is readying for a new errantry war. Some believe this could be against Musalon, while others suggest that it may be launched against the dire forces of evil in the far north. Whatever the case, Bretonnia and its knights are ready. And there you have the end to the Land of Chivalry segment of the 6th edition Bretonnia Army book. I think the only other thing I really want to do out of this book is something I want to do right now, which is to read you guys the vows and the peasant's duty. So let's start with the peasant's duty. Thou shalt give unto thine glorious liege the taxes that he requires. Thou shalt labor all but feast days, and no more than a 10th share shall you keep for kith and kin. Rejoice, for a knight of Bretonnia provides your shield. And then we have the knight's vow. When the clarion call is sounded, I will ride out and fight in the name of liege and lady. Whilst I draw breath, the lands bequeathed unto me will remain untainted by evil. Honor is all, chivalry is all. And then we have the questing vow. I set down my lance, symbol of duty. I spurn those whom I love. I relinquish all and take up the tools of my quest. No obstacle will stand before me. No plea for help shall find me wanting. No moon will look upon me twice, lest I be judged idle. I give my body, heart, and soul to the lady whom I seek. And lastly, the Grail vow. That which is sacrosanct I shall preserve. That which is sublime I will protect. That which threatens I will destroy. For my holy wrath will know no bounds. And there you have it. That's a pretty good overview of Bretonnia as a whole. Of course, you know, there are more bits mixed in there, but I think I'm probably going to move on to an entirely new army book next. So, look forward to that, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.